Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today for our Meet Columbia Women in Business webinar. My name is Kate Murphy. I am part of the admissions team here at Columbia and work really closely with CWiB and our CWiB leaders and all women's initiatives. So I'm really thrilled to be joined by many members of Columbia Women in Business today. And without further ado, we'll dive in. We'll start with some introductions from our students. We'll talk more about what Columbia Women in Business is and the initiatives that they're working on. And we'll definitely save time for questions at the end. So please feel free to utilize the Q&A box. If you have admissions questions, I'm happy to answer them in the box as we go through the deck. But I will tee up some live questions to our students at the end. So again, feel free to use the Q&A box for that. And without further ado, I will turn it over to Kensley to kick us off with introductions. Thank you.
Thanks. Hey, everyone. I'm so excited that you're here. Thanks for joining us today and taking time out of your Wednesday. My name is Kensley Hickman. I'm one of the co-VPs of admissions with Columbia Women in Business. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. And before this, I was a senior consultant at Deloitte. I'm actually sponsored, so I'm planning to go back after my MBA finishes. I actually picked CBS. It's a very long story and one I'd be happy to share when we have more time to chat. But I thought I was pursuing a dual degree. Didn't quite work out that way, but it is the best accident in the whole world. So I'm very glad with my decision. And obviously, I love New York City. Outside of being a co-VP of admissions for CWiB, I'm also a peer advisory chair. So I get to help run orientation for all of our incoming students. And I am the chair for my cluster. And if you have any questions about how the cluster structure works at CBS, I'm happy to answer those. And I'm a member of the Hermes Society, so I get to speak to new and prospective students all of the time. You can tell it's a passion of mine and every piece of my involvement at CBS. And my fun fact is that I've eaten spaghetti bolognese in 33 different countries. I'm about to make it 34 in October this month, so stay tuned.
Thanks, Kensley. That's an iconic fun fact. Okay, so hi, everyone. I'm Tori. I'm also a second year and Kensley's co-VP of admissions for CWiB. My hometown is Princeton, New Jersey, so truly right across the Hudson where we are at CBS. And then pre-CBS, I was account supervisor at FCB Health, which is an ad agency that supports new product launches for large healthcare companies. Why CBS? I think location. First, I loved New York. I've lived in New York for quite a few years prior to coming to CBS. And I think that it was really a big decision for me of where I wanted to end up in my life, being from New Jersey, having a lot of support network here. So the alumni and the amount of people that stay around the New York City area is awesome. For club affiliations and leadership positions. So like I said, I'm a part of CWiB as the co-VP of admissions. I'm also in HCIA, which stands for Healthcare Industry Association. And I'm the co-VP of community. And then outside of that, there's a bunch of different options to join different clubs at CBS, whether you're a leader or not. So I'm also in the Hispanic Business Association, Snow Sports Club, Health and Wellness Club, and a bunch of others. So definitely keeping busy at CBS. Hoping to go into healthcare pharma after school. And I guess a fun fact is I grew up with this 15-foot cactus that we decorate for the holidays. It's our holiday cactus. And I hope to one day have an apartment large enough to support that dream in my next life. So.
Hi everyone. My name is Catherine White. I am one of the co-presidents for CWiB, along with Elaine, who will be speaking later in the session. I'm originally from Peapod-Glatson, New Jersey. Before business school, I worked in investment banking at Barclays for around 3 years, and then I worked in private equity for around 2 years before that. I chose CBS for a lot of reasons, but a main reason was that, it's in New York, it's at the epicenter of finance. I'm going to be pursuing finance after business school, and there's nothing like being in New York, and, being at the very center of business is very true. I'm the co-president, as I mentioned, of CWiB, but I'm also involved in the private equity program. I'm a private equity program fellow, and I'm also helped out with the private equity conference last year for the Private Equity Club. And I'll be working at Apollo in private equity, capital markets, post business school. And a fun fact is that I am a triplet.
Hey everyone, I'm Elaine. I'm the other co-president of CWiB with Catherine. I'm originally from Miami, Florida. And prior to CBS, I worked in a variety of industries, from restaurants to marketing consulting to most recently product strategy and operations at Meta. My wife's CBS is pretty similar to everyone else's. So been in New York for 8 years. It's the best city in the world to me, and I would never want to leave. And my CBS experience has been incredible, added to the piece of New York as well. As for club affiliations, aside from CWiB, I'm also in the Tech Club, the Asian Business Association, gourmet arts and running. I really like that CBS provides that kind of outlet for me to keep up with my hobbies or things that I would do in my personal life, but also integrate that with, meeting people from the CBS network as well. After CBS, I'm either going to continue with a tech position. I interned as a product manager this past summer, or continue with my current part-time job at a startup, which is super exciting. I met one of my closest friends here at CBS, and she's part of a newly funded startup, which is super exciting to work on. And my fun fact is, so you all know the popular Chinese American dish, General Tso's chicken. So his last name, the general that it's based on, it's actually Zuo, which is my last name. And he didn't actually make the dish, but he's the namesake for the dish. So that's a fun fact whenever you're having Chinese.
Hey everyone, my name is Yi. I'm originally from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I'm one of the VPs of conference for CWiB. So for anyone who's interested in conference, feel free to reach out to me. This year's conference is on Friday, November 3rd, so a month out from now. And the theme is Evolve, so kind of celebrating women and kind of how different leadership roles have evolved over time. And this year is actually our 30th anniversary, so really exciting time for the conference team. And super excited for this year's conference. So pre-CBS, I was a consultant at Kearney. Similar to Kensley, I'm also sponsored. So we'll be going back to Kearney in New York City after I graduate. In terms of my why CBS, I think I came to business school to really learn about the intersection of retail, technology, and beauty. And CBS has just a really fantastic retail luxury curriculum, and also the execs and residence program was one of the main reasons why I decided to come here as well. Just being able to be mentored by such amazing C-suite execs at Columbia, and also kind of learning directly from them. And then also similar to the other people here, I also wanted to stay in New York City as well for my MBA. So outside of CWiB, I'm also the co-president for the LA Contact Conference. And then also part of the Retail Luxury Goods Club, Beauty Club, and Army Society. And then a fun fact is that I love to dance. So I did dance for almost 14, 15 years before coming to business school. So I used to want to be a professional ballerina, and then realized that I had a job out of school for that. So I still do dance recreationally. So yeah.
Can you hear me? I'm Rafaela. I'm VP of Finance of CWiB. I'm from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. And I was born and lived there my whole life. Before coming to CBS, I was a consultant at Visage, that is a management consulting company from Brazil. I have worked in consulting my whole life, but I decided that I want to change. That's why I came to CBS. So first, as everyone said, I really wanted to be in New York City. After the MBA, I also want to be in New York City. So that's why my first point. And also the strength in finance, the curriculum, and as Catherine said, being the center of business, it's really important. Apart from CWiB, I'm also VP of Community of the Brazil Club. I'm also academic chair of my cluster. I was last year a VP of conference from PE Club. And also I joined a lot of different type of clubs that I like, not only professional, but also some interests that I have, such as the Gourmet Club, the Wine Club, Health and Wellness, Snow Club, and LABA, that is the Latin America club as well. So really broad experience that I can enjoy different types of things that I like. I interned in investment banking. I'm planning to go back here in New York City. And a fun fact, like I love sports, but mainly Muay Thai. I have been practicing for over 15 years and I really enjoy. So yeah, nice to be here.
Thank you so much, ladies. I would like to take a Muay Thai class. Can we get that on the books? That would be so cool. Again, just wanted to thank you guys for coming. Obviously, we have some great panelists here. One of my favorite things about CWiB is just getting to know the other like amazing women at CBS. And just to kick us off with some content here, Columbia Women in Business is an organization on campus for anyone who identifies as a woman or anyone who just has a special interest in women succeeding in their like personal and career aspirations. So it's really just a club. It's one of the biggest on campus, and admissions can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it might be the biggest affinity group on campus. But I do want to emphasize that it's just one of many. So like whatever identities you come to CBS with, like we want to be a part of the community that supports you, both as a woman, both as someone who identifies as a female, and just like in general as a whole person. So we love to set up curriculum and events to really make you feel supported and like you're part of a really much bigger community. Anything to add, Elaine or Catherine?
Great job, Kensley. You pretty much covered it.
Amazing. So if we want to go to the next slide, there's just a couple of things that we want to highlight that we really focus on in our programming. And that's career and corporate relations. So we have a lot of like corporate sponsors who are really investing in the future of women in business. We also do, as you mentioned, we do the conference. And I saw a question pop up. Obviously, we'll get to questions at the end. But yes, you can attend the Women in Business conference as a prospective student, and I would highly encourage it. It's always a great time. We also do events, both community and professional events. There's a lot of leadership development and mentorship opportunities. So even last night, there was a management consulting panel that collaborated with the Women in Business Club. So we had like a Women in Consulting Careers panel, which was really interesting. And then we have Women's Week, which happens during Women's History Month. And well, historically, it's happened during Women's History Month. And it's just an opportunity to celebrate the women in our lives, both like professional inspirations and personal inspirations. There's a lot of really cool programming during that time. Tori, anything you want to add?
You're crushing it. You got it.
I just need affirmation. That's all I'm looking for. Thank you, ladies. I
No, it's
appreciate you.
perfect.
And I am going to let Yi speak a little bit to conference if you feel comfortable, Yi.
Yeah, of course. So as I mentioned before, the conference will be held on November 3rd in our Manhattanville campus. And the theme for this year is Evolve, chosen to kind of celebrate women who continuously to push boundaries, drive impact, and contribute to the advancement of women's leadership roles in business. If you choose to attend the conference this year, we're trying to also do like a pre-conference happy hour as well. So that's a great way for people to meet other members part of CWiB and also like other students. So your ticket will include the access to the happy hour. And yeah, as I mentioned, this year is the 30th anniversary of the conference, so we're super excited. We have some great keynote speakers lined up and panelists. And then I think I saw a question about whether the conference will be remote, and unfortunately it will not be. It's in-person attendance only, but definitely open to prospective students. So reach out to me if you are interested in attending.
Thanks, Yi. And then I touched on this a little bit, but during the spring semester, so conferences in the fall, and then in the spring we have Women's History Month, and we kick that off with Women's Week, and that's just an opportunity for like very specialized programming that we talk about women's role in society and business, and we get to really focus this year. One of our focuses with CWiB in general is on intersectionality, so bringing your authentic self and every aspect of your identity together. And that's going to be a great focus of our Women's Week coming up in the spring semester. Yeah, we're really excited. Obviously, this is early stages of planning, so we'll have more details about this going forward. But if you live in the New York area or interested in some of these events, obviously we'll keep you updated on the program planning. We really bulldoze through some of that content because we see a lot of questions coming through and we want to make sure we have time for those, but I'll pass it off to Kate and she can help us facilitate a Q&A session.
thank you all so much for your fun intros. I really enjoyed hearing your fun facts and your roles in CWiB, obviously. So yes, we have a bunch of questions in the chat, the Q&A box rather, and I'm happy to kind of moderate. But if you all see something in here that you would like to answer, feel free to do so. Okay, so I think we'll start. It would be really helpful. There's a couple of questions in here just elaborating on what your role is in CWiB. Like, what does it mean to be a co-president and a co-VP of admissions in the club? And maybe how folks can take on leadership roles on the board of club. So maybe I'll kick that to Elaine or Catherine to talk about, what drove you to become co-president of CWiB and how you acquired the role. That'd be great.
Awesome. Thanks, Kate. Great question. So the co-presidents of CWiB basically oversee every single sub-team that CWiB covers, which is a lot. As you've probably seen just from this short overview of the deck, we have a conference team, an admissions team, a fundraising team, personal and professional development team, social impact, finance, you name it. I think we have about 10 sub-teams. In each of those, we have wonderful VPs that plan and execute according to their function. So yeah, it's pretty much like if you've been in leadership in undergraduate, you would be the president of a club and handle it that way. In terms of how you get a leadership position at CWiB, so every year we have general members join, and then they can become an assistant vice president in their first year through an interview process. And then in the second year, you would apply to become a vice president or co-president, and again, go through an interview process. And based on your involvement with CWiB in the first year, you would get your results accordingly. For my personal story, Catherine and I, we were actually on the marketing and communications VP teams last year, and those are two operational roles that really touch every single team within CWiB. These wonderful ladies that are shown up here are actually the co-presidents from last year and our Marcoms VP, and they just did an incredible job last year that we were inspired to really kind of follow in their footsteps and emulate them and becoming co-presidents this year. Catherine, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I would say, like, on a personal note, like why I decided to run as co-president for CWiB. It's a big role to be co-president of one of the largest affinity groups at school. We have over 500 members. And when I thought about where I really wanted to spend my time, I wanted to spend it at CWiB. I wanted to spend it building community of all these amazing women here. And it's like a meaningful thing for me, coming from a male-dominated background in finance and investment banking, private equity. It's really unique and special to be supported by all these women. It's not a room or a situation you get frequently, I think, as you progress in your career. So it's just a very unique situation to be around such like driven, smart, and kind women. So
thank you both so much. Another question that kind of curtails is how you balance being on the board of clubs and maybe other clubs with schoolwork and professional opportunities at CBS. There's a lot going on. So maybe Kensley or Tori, I know we work really closely with you all and see how much work you are putting in to help us with events like this and taking time out of your day. How do you balance schoolwork with all of these other things happening at business school?
Thanks. I can start. So I think it really comes down to like where your passions and interests lie, because I'm sure all of us experience this. When you start school, there's going to be a lot of different things thrown at you. There's competing priorities. There's a lot of clubs, everyone's joining. You're like, oh my gosh, I want to get involved. And I think it's important to take a step back and think about what is most meaningful to you during this time, during this journey. And so, I mean, I can speak for myself. Like, I know that in my prior career, being a part of like women leadership groups was like one of the things that really propelled me to go and get my MBA, because I had a lot of support in that group and I was part of it. And I knew I wanted to continue that at CBS and then hopefully and beyond. And then I'm also very interested in healthcare. So being on the board of CWiB and being on the board of like the Healthcare Industry Association were kind of my two that I prioritized as leadership positions. And then within that, I think it's manageable because you have a team that you can rely on and you have certain goals and like certain activities that you're looking forward to. So I feel like it's definitely doable, but it's all about prioritizing what means the most to you. And Kensley, like, feel free to jump in based on your experience as well.
Yeah, it's funny. This is one of the most common questions. So as I mentioned earlier, I'm a peer advisor chair. So I helped to lead orientation this past summer. The question that every peer advisor answered 100 times was how do I do it all? Like, how do I do every club, and how many clubs should I join, and what does balance look like? And like my answer was always, no matter what I tell you, you're going to sign up for too many clubs your first semester. Like, no matter what, you're going to overcommit. And that's part of the process, is like trying everything and learning that you can only handle like so much on your plate. And figuring out, like, you're really forced to start figuring out what matters the most to you, kind of to Tori's point. Like, what do you want to focus your time and energy on, and where do you feel like you still need support, especially like in an affinity group like CWiB or like BBSA or HSA, which are other affinity groups. It's our Black Business Student Association, our Hispanic Student Association. Like, where do you feel like you still need more support in being successful both at CBS and beyond? Those are the areas that I would encourage you to lean into. And just naturally, you'll start to notice some themes in how you prioritize your time. So like I said, mine are all with new and prospective students, and that way I can do my role for like 3 different clubs with 1 meeting. You know, I get to do what I love to do, and it really like makes it efficient. I get to talk to new and prospective students with Hermes, with my PA role, and with CWiB. So you can start to find synergies like that. That's the advice that I would have.
Thank you. And you just actually kind of answered another question, which is, what does it mean to be the VP of admissions? So interfacing with new and prospective students, and working really closely with our team to plan events like this. Thank you both for weighing in there. Yi, I know that you kind of gave an overview of conference, but would you be able to give some other examples of events that CWiB either participates in or plans outside of conference and Women's Week?
Yeah, so I think back to what Kenzie said earlier, I think some other events we do throughout the year include like collaborations with other professional groups on campus. I know there was an MCA Management Consulting Association and Women in Business panel yesterday. And then outside of that, we also do a lot of like social impact initiatives. So for instance, there's a social impact committee, and they kind of are dedicated to identifying ways to help out in the local like Harlem community and like Upper West Side. So I know there's like a park cleanup scheduled for a couple of weeks from now. So definitely a lot of ways to give back to the community, and also a lot of like career events as well throughout the year.
Thank you. There were a bunch of questions about cross collaborations with other clubs too. So you're all knocking multiple questions out in your responses. Thank you. Rafaela, I'd love to ask you a question about alumni. So is there any mentorship, whether it be second year students mentoring first year students, or mentorship opportunities with alum that is facilitated by Columbia Women in Business? And how has your experience been with mentorship by being a member of the club?
We have mentorship with alumni. I was not last year. I did not do that. I don't know if any one of the other like had the opportunity to do it, and can talk a little bit more. But we do have, yeah, we have mentorship.
I can jump in here. We have an alumni relations team that keeps a strong relationship with Women's Circle, which is kind of like the post-grad version of CWiB. And I actually had an amazing mentor last year. We had mentor pairings done in the spring, and I was able to meet her in person and have a few chats. And she actually had some great contacts for my summer internship at Amazon in Seattle. She had a few contacts out there that I actually met with, and that led to an amazing connection that we are actually featuring as a panelist for our conference. So it really goes to show the power of CWiB's connections, and even through like a few touch points with a mentor relationship, that can bring in more learnings and kind of distribute that to the wider community. We're planning to start our mentorship pairings earlier in the fall this year, so we're really looking forward to kind of strengthening those bonds with students and alumni even earlier in the year.
Thank you so much. I'd love maybe quickly if everybody could share an answer to this question. Maybe your favorite woman professor or guest lecturer or speaker that you've seen at CBS that has impacted you thus far. And we could just do like a quick round robin, starting maybe with Kensley, and then you can pass it on.
Yeah, I was doing a little brainstorming in my head there. My first year we do the core classes during your first semester, and that's some classes that, you have to get out of the way, but also can be really exciting too. I don't want to make it sound not as fun, but it's like a set bit of curriculum that you do with your clusters. Somebody had asked a question about the cluster structure earlier. You take all of your classes first semester with the same group of like 70 to 80 people, and you do all of the core with them. So one of my professors during that time, Vanessa Burbano, she was our strategy professor. And I just really appreciated the way that she showed up for class, both really professionally and also fully as a woman, like shared her story with breast cancer that she had recently overcome, and like also was this just powerhouse of a woman who knew so much about the industry. So I just appreciated that it wasn't either or. She got to show up fully as both a woman and a really knowledgeable expert in the area of strategy. So that would be my answer. Tori, you want to go next?
Sure, I can go next. So mine was also a professor that I had during the core courses that Kensley mentioned. And one of the courses you have to take is called LEAD, and it's essentially like helping build you as a future leader. And you go through a bunch of different simulations and cases that you kind of analyze together as a group. And my professor was Modupe Akinola. She is truly amazing. She's been a professor at CBS for years and years and years. And she talks about kind of being a woman climbing the ladder in business, in academics. And she just has a very interesting way of looking at life and looking at sticking up for yourself, speaking up for yourself as a woman. And I think that it was really inspiring to be in her course. So I would highly recommend her or taking one of her classes if you get the chance.
I can build up on that because my favorite professor was also from LEAD. And for me, like I came as an international and LEAD was the first class that I took. So I was a little bit, how it will be there? How would I like participate with a lot of Americans? I'm from Brazil. And I think what it was great from her is like, she motivated a really good in-class participation. She talked a lot about like leading inclusively. How can we like, a lot of things that we don't actually pay attention, like, and we can be like biased and stuff, and how can we manage that? So for me, like taking her class as a first class at CBS made me feel more like empowered and like better to manage all the other classes after this class. So it was a great first impression, and I really recommend her. Her name is Sandra Metz.
I'll just double click there on what Rafa said, since Rafa and I are actually in the same cluster and we took the same class with Sandra Matz. She's just an incredibly engaging professor. She's like really young, but she has attended all these like amazing summits and has amazing professional contacts as well. Being in her class, you really learn how to be a leader. And I think watching her lecture as a woman is especially inspiring. She's actually going to be teaching one of our upcoming events that our personal and professional development team is putting on, which is negotiating salary. And I think, again, seeing this coming from such a powerful female professor and leader is going to be really inspiring for our current students.
I can go next. One of my favorite professors was a woman named Mabel Abraham. She teaches the Power and Influence classes here at Columbia Business School. Probably my favorite class I've taken. Essentially, you look and see how it's not just doing good at your job. You actually have to make sure you network and find the little pockets of power within your organization, really to wield influence, even if you don't have a title source of power. You could be a junior associate and still influence power in an organization. So it was really helpful tips like on how juniors like us, when we enter the workforce, like how we can hit the ground running, and those soft skills that people think aren't sometimes so important are really important in advancing your career. And she's just a wonderful person as well. I really enjoyed her class.
Yeah, I think I'm last. I think I would just echo what Elaine and also Tori said. I was also really impressed by Modupe Akinola as well as Sandra Matz. I'm currently taking her negotiations class right now and really enjoy it. But I think outside of that, before coming to CBS, as I mentioned, I'm really interested in like retail and luxury. And I know that one of the professors here was Mixed in residence, so her name is Pauline Brown. So I read her book before coming to Columbia, and it was like my dream to like even meet her and just like network and just kind of like learn from her experience. And then I was lucky enough to like meet her in the fall and then be a TA for one of her classes in the spring. And I think just her approach to, you know, talking about aesthetics and luxury and retail was just really inspiring to me. And I think it was kind of a dream come true to kind of meet her and not only just like TA for her after reading her book. And I remember during one of our earlier board meetings last year, we were going around the room talking about our female role models. And I think I brought her up as one of them. And then kind of, yeah, it was just kind of so inspiring to be a part of the journey, kind of working with her.
Thank you all so much. I could sit here all day and listen to you talk about these experiences you've had with some of the powerhouse women in the CBS community. So thank you. We had Sandra Matz actually do like a mock lecture for a prospective student event last fall, and she discussed like a managerial negotiations lecture, and it was awesome. So I definitely second that. Rafa, I'm going to come back to you and kind of zoom out and ask what your experience was like moving to New York City to pursue business school, and kind of how going to business school in New York impacts the culture and the community feel here. That'd be great.
Perfect. So I always wanted to come to New York, but I actually have never like spent a lot of time here. So I didn't know a lot about the city. But I wanted to be in the center of business. I really wanted to come to Columbia. And coming to business school, I think like being able to join a lot of different clubs and actually like being surrounded by people and women here really helped me in this experience. I was a little bit lost when I arrived. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do after the MBA. Career-wise, I signed up to a lot of different clubs, a lot of leadership positions, but actually like being able to be in CWiB, especially I was AVP last year as well, so I was on the board as well. So I get a lot of like being surrounded with such like wonderful women, a lot of international going through the same situation, a lot of people who are moving here in New York as well. It was awesome to like be with those women helping me when I needed, and then I didn't know that I needed. So it was really good and important. And I think Columbia really helped me to build a community here. So know people. I didn't know anyone who was living here, and I think like Columbia was the main responsible for me to build my community here, especially like CWiB also helped me a lot last year. So I really recommend.
Great, thank you so much. A question about how men or allies can kind of get involved in CWiB and support your initiatives. If anybody wants to come off mute and answer that one.
Yeah, definitely. We definitely want more allies in CWiB. Last year we had an event specifically tailored toward male allyship. It was during Women's History Week. It was an excellent event. Like the room was packed, and we had a panel of males. We had a moderator, our VP Women's Week, discussing topics all about male allyship, their experience with it, their struggles with it, and maybe questions and topics they hadn't encountered yet. It's something that we want to keep building upon in CWiB. You know, it's really important to have males support what we do. We can't do it alone. And similarly with other affinity groups, you know, we all should support each other. So it's something like we're really focused on building out this year, Elaine and I and the rest of the board.
Great, thank you. Given that we have time, I'd love to do like another round robin with a question about advice. What advice do you have for women going through the business school application process and how to be successful and make the most of their time once they're here? And maybe we'll start with Elaine.
Awesome, thanks, Kate. In terms of kind of excelling on the application, I know it sounds like corny, but I would just tell your story as you kind of see it. thinking about my professional life, I felt that I had worked in like a variety of industries that didn't necessarily make a linear sense in terms of a narrative. But once I started writing that out and putting it together, I felt pretty confident that it was my story and that it actually brought a sense of uniqueness, and that I was confident about submitting that to the admissions committee. So I would just say, bring that sense of your own story to the application and the essay process. And I think that will be your best bet. Sorry, what was the second question, Kate? Succeeding as a woman at CBS?
Yes, your one piece of advice to be successful as a woman in the program once they're here.
Yeah, for sure. So I think this might just be more general to anyone, but I would say keeping an open mind. I've been in New York for a while, and for me, I was super excited to go to CBS despite like having that time in New York. And I've been discovering places all over the city, even though I would be a seasoned New Yorker. And, just saying yes to so many things. I know it's hard when there are a million things first year that you kind of want to balance saying no and yes to, but I felt for me, just saying yes to as many things as possible helped me then kind of whittle that down and prioritize like what was truly important. Not sure who wants to go next.
So for the application, I think like I totally agree with Elaine in terms of like tell your story. I also want to say a little bit about like try to be true to yourself, like know what you did and like making that this is enough. Like I was working in the same company for 7 years. I thought like, what would I say? They would like me, but just be true to yourself, know what you want and how CBS will help you achieve your goals. I think and do like try to like think about you, like try to understand where you want to be, who you are and everything. I think it really helps. And at CBS, I have like 2 main advices. I think one is try to set your priorities. It's a lot coming in here, a lot of like really good opportunities and a lot of good things to do. So like try to understand like what your priorities are. And also try to do something that you had never done before. Take a class that you like never thought about taking. Join a club that you have never like did something like that before. I think there are such like unique opportunities here. So try to do something that you didn't imagine before coming to CBS.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Rafa. I think in terms of the application process, something that is like a huge part of my story is just like I come from a line of really incredibly strong women. My mom was always the breadwinner in my family. My grandmother worked her whole life, even after having kids, and lived in New York when she was in her 20s. It's like the women in my life are the most like source of inspiration, the highest source of inspiration for me. And I think that the admissions essays have changed. There used to be a question about like if you like a book or a movie, correct me if I'm wrong, Kate. It's like what
There used to be, yes, not this year.
okay,
Go for it.
it's gone. But I got to talk about my grandmother and how like important she was in my life. And I would just encourage you to like let aspects of your personality shine through your application, even if it's not like what we're used to talking about as like our professional selves or whatever. Like admissions really wants to get to know you as a person, as a candidate, as a potential member of the community. So like don't be afraid to share some of those details about you that might not come out otherwise. And then once you're in the community, like I would really echo what Rafa said about like try something you're not comfortable with. My favorite thing that I've done at CBS is like if you've heard of our grade non-disclosure policy, we vote on it every year, but basically like we don't communicate our grades to employers, and that really gives you the freedom to like try things that you're not necessarily good at. So I'm not a finance girly. I will never be a finance girly, but I took capital markets and investments. It was the worst grade I've gotten to date, but it doesn't matter because you don't have to tell anyone. But it like gave me the opportunity to explore in a male dominated field, something that like I wouldn't trust myself to learn if the grades were that much more important. Like I really got to explore and try something different. So I would encourage you to do that if you join us.
Yeah, and I think I would add on to what Kensley said. And I think one piece of advice I got when I was applying to business school is to try to be very strategic in who you reach out to. So I think for me, I made the common mistake of reaching out to too many people when I was applying to business school. So I had maybe like 20 plus calls every week across all the schools I was applying to. So I think after a couple of weeks, I then kind of narrowed down the list of people of who I wanted to talk to. So either people who come from similar industries as you, people who are in clubs that you want to join, and also like people who may like have the career goals or like that kind of matches what you want to do after business school. So I think strategically connecting with a couple people, I think I talked to a couple people from CWiB, RLG, Marketing Club, and the different clubs on campus. So I think just kind of tying their unique insights into what makes Columbia unique is what I would recommend when you're applying. And then I think when you get here, I think just taking advantage of all the opportunities that the school offers, I think similar to what the other people have said, just like joining clubs that you may not be familiar with, and also going on different trips as well. So there's so many trips happening throughout the year, and they don't have to be in like in the industries that you want to go into, but just kind of taking the time to like meet people that you wouldn't have normally met before on the different like trips, either through Chase-in or like student-led trips as well.
Yes, agreed. And I'm just going to jump in super quickly with like a tactical thing. So I think that everybody applying to business school has like really compelling stories and backgrounds, and you're clearly very driven, or else you probably wouldn't have gotten to this point. So I think the key is to make sure the way that you tell your story is coming across to other people. So for me, when I was trying to write my essays and tell about my life and my dreams and my hopes, and then I read it to one of my friends, and she was like, I know what you're trying to say because I know you have, and I've known you for 10 years, but somebody in admissions who's picking up this essay is like, wait, I'm lost in this plot. So just really think about, or maybe I would encourage you to like talk to other people, read it to your parents, read it to your friends, like ask them, like, how do they see you? Is there a different way that I could convey what I'm trying to say that's clearer, more succinct? And like, if a random person picked up this piece of paper, they would know the deepest part of me. So I feel like that was great advice that I got when I was looking into applying.
Thank you all. Happy to jump to the next question, but really fruitful, thoughtful feedback on admissions. I love to hear your perspectives on the approach that you all took, because clearly you were all successful and being admitted and making a really strong impact on the school thus far. So I wholeheartedly agree with all of the advice you gave. We definitely want to get to know who you are, what drives you, what you're passionate about, what motivates you, all of those things beyond just, you know, the typical data points that you think of when applying to business school. So agree with just bringing your most authentic and genuine version of yourself to the application process and taking some time to do some self-reflection before you hit submit, I think is my best advice from an admission standpoint. So thank you all. I know we touched on this a little bit, but if somebody would like to kind of weigh in and just elaborate maybe a little more on how CWiB fits into like the professional aspect of business school, what does CWiB do to support you in whether it be networking opportunities or recruiting prep? How has CWiB fit in to the professional aspect of the program? I'll let somebody.
Yeah, sure. No, I can take this. CWiB is really about building community and also helping you achieve your professional goals. So it's those two things at the same time. There's a lot of ways that you can network within CWiB. I think our alumni team does a great job. So when you join, as Elaine mentioned, you're going to get paired with an industry professional who's a woman who's an alumni of CWiB. That's a great way to network one-on-one with someone. In addition, we have social events or happy hours with all the alumni and current student pairings. So when you go to these sessions, you can also get the opportunity to network with all these other alumni that are part of the program. And then during our conference, we have a lot of sponsorship from companies who want to partner with CWiB, and they'll have representatives that will come during lunch. And there's time for you to network with representatives from a variety of industries and companies, which is a great opportunity. And then with helping you professionally last night, I think as someone mentioned here, we had a joint event with the professional club, MCA, which is Management Consulting Association. So we did a CWiB partnership. So it was a panel of all women that worked in consulting this past summer. And essentially you learned about why they joined consulting, how did they get the job, how did they prep for cases, what was it like being a woman, things like that. And we do a lot of events with other professional clubs like that. So last year we partnered with the Private Equity Club and Investment Banking Club to do a panel on health and wellness in finance and how to stay sane and making sure like you're staying healthy and ways to get through it. So we do a lot of partnerships with professional clubs as well.
Thank you, Catherine, and thank you for calling out some of those specific clubs, because I feel like there's a lot of specific industries being called out in the Q&A. So it sounds like you cover the breadth of industries focuses. So thank you for sharing more. Would somebody mind jumping in and just sharing a little bit about ways in which they see CWiB growing and changing over time? If there's anything that you would like CWiB to maybe improve on or enhance as the years go on, that would be great to hear.
I do love talking about this because obviously I really love CWiB. I had the opportunity last year. I was not in a leadership position with CWiB last year. I think I'm one of the only board members who wasn't. And so I really do feel like I have a good perspective on like how, from a non-leadership perspective, what CWiB feels like for like the average member. And I think this is something that Catherine and Elaine are really working on, which is how do we get members who are not necessarily in leadership positions to stay really engaged and involved and feel supported by the community. I think that's huge. And then something I alluded to a little bit earlier, which is my personal like passion project for the year, is really this idea of intersectionality. How do you bring your authentic self and every aspect of your identity into your experience with CWiB? So one of my like big goals is to really just combine make sure that CWiB as an organization works really well with other affinity groups. So it doesn't feel like you have to pick your favorite aspect of your identity. Like, are you going to spend more time with the Asian Business Association or with the Women in Business Club? You can do both, and you can be authentically yourself in both settings. And I think that that's the kind of like community that we want at CBS in a broader sense. And so it really starts with doing that in our affinity clubs, making sure that people feel like they can bring their whole self to every environment that they're in, whatever club that may be. So those are my two like kind of things that I think are in progress, but really exciting opportunities for CWiB. And then one of the ones that I noted in the chat as well was just allyship. So how do we get more men to join our conversation? How do we get more people who who identify as non-binary or not necessarily female? Like, how do we get them engaged in the discussion that we're having around women in the workplace? Because it's important not just that women know how women should act in the workplace, but that men know how women can show up in the work. You know, I think that that's an important aspect of what we're doing as well.
Thank you so much, Kensley. Those are great examples. We have about 10 minutes left, and we usually like to wrap up these sessions by going around and having everyone share their favorite CWiB memory with the group. So I will ask Tori to start, and hopefully you don't have the same. If you have the same memories, then feel free to kick it to the next person. But if you wouldn't mind starting, that'd be great.
Sure. Well, I think outside of meeting all the people that I've met within CWiB, because I feel like that's just like a plus side of Columbia, like everyone's amazing. One of my favorite memories within CWiB was last year I was able to work with admissions to do the Columbia Connect Day. So that's when students who have been admitted to CBS get invited to campus and kind of like get to see a day in the life of a student, get to attend some speakers, and then we have kind of like a meet with current students happy hour. And I think that was awesome because I was able to talk to a bunch of students that were in a very similar position that I was, 10 months prior, trying to make decisions, figure out what would be the best path for them moving forward, and then why Columbia or how they would see themselves fitting into CBS. And I feel like doing things like that reminds me why I'm here, and kind of solidifies the decision that I made to be here. Because it's just like really awesome talking about like looking back on how many experiences I've had and how much I've grown, and just to be able to talk to people about that and share that experience to hopefully, get them on board to do it with themselves, I think is definitely a favorite memory of CWiB.
I have a similar one to Tori. It was actually one that I was at with Tori just a few weeks ago. Maybe some of you were there at the Diversity Matters Student Conference for prospective students. Meeting those prospective students that come from a diversity of backgrounds was just so inspiring. It's really exciting to just like hear people's stories, how excited they are for Columbia Business School and CWiB specifically, and kind of just bringing that like new passion to my kind of take on CBS was just really gratifying. Additionally, I spoke at a panel with a couple of other club leaders from different affinity groups. And again, that kind of reinvigorated my appreciation for the diversity of our class. It's such a large class, there's over 800 students, but kind of having that time to really hone in and hear the stories of my peers from different types of affinity groups and how they have kind of different experiences from all over the world really just solidified the reason why I'm here, is to kind of learn and meet people from all walks of life, and just come away with a renewed sense of appreciation.
I can hop in here. One of my favorite memories in my role specifically with CWiB has been last year. The admissions process has changed, so things are a little different this year, but we got to be some of those first touch points for admitted women. So like when women got into CBS, we got a list of names to reach out to, and just getting to congratulate women on like this really big accomplishment was one of my favorite things to do, spending time over this semester just like talking to people who are obviously really excited to join the community or still making their decision. It was such a fun process, one, to just share in their excitement with them, and to help them make the best decision for them. And if that's CBS, then that's awesome, and I'm so excited. But if it's not, then getting to talk through with them like what they're really looking for in an MBA program, and where that fits into the bigger picture of their career. And what was really exciting was getting to do that last year, sharing in those thought processes with incoming students, and then getting to see them at orientation live and in person, and have so many people be like, you reached out to me when I got admitted and now I'm here. It's just a really exciting way to connect with the next class of CBSers, if that were a word.
Yeah, I can say a little bit. I will go to a little bit different direction. I think one of my best and first memories of CWiB, it was really in the beginning last year when I arrived. As I said, I was like totally a little bit lost on what would I do. And then I remember one of the first like CWiB events that I was able to meet a lot of people with different interests. And it was the first time that I met, like really was able to talk with people outside my cluster and meet like other women with similar interests than me. And most of them were really important through my recruiting and building my community here. So I think like this first kickoff event of CWiB enabled me to meet people with that I would not be able to meet otherwise, and are people that are really important to me like until now. So I think this was really important to like help me build my community here.
I can jump in as well. I may be a little biased, but I will say the conference. I love being part of the conference team last year, and I'm super excited to help plan this year's conference. And like last year, it was just so amazing to connect with many amazing like female leaders, and also like panelists and people who are like alumni coming back to Columbia. We got people coming up to us saying like they were in the class of like 1992, 1990s. And it's just so amazing just to kind of see people, like women especially, stay connected within the Columbia community and want to come back for the conference every year. So yeah, I would definitely say the conference, but I think also like the different social events as well throughout the semesters.
Yeah, definitely. And then I would say my favorite part is really just meeting the people. I especially got to do this when I ran for co-president with Elaine. We went out and surveyed people's opinions, what they wanted to change about CWiB, what they wanted to see. And you're really able to meet so many more women by doing that. I also really like when we do the kickoff events for Club Day. You get to meet all of the first years, and it's just like really great to meet all these really smart, kind, driven women. It's really my favorite part of being a part of CWiB.
Everybody had a chance to go, right? Okay. Thank you so much for taking the time to join this afternoon, to the people who attended the webinar and also our current students. I thought this was really, really awesome, and we look forward to doing this again in a couple of weeks. But the event that I referenced earlier is coming up, so we wanted to make sure that everybody was aware. Spotlight on Women of CBS is an on-campus event. It's happening in Manhattanville on November 18th. So registration for that is not live yet, but will be coming soon. So please keep an eye out, monitor our events page. We'll be sending out an invitation shortly. We do also offer campus visits, information sessions, other virtual events. We have a student chat with CWiB coming up as well, where you can kind of go into breakout rooms and have more intimate conversations and have your questions answered by members of the club. So we encourage you to check that out. And we're also open and available for questions on the admissions team. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us if you have questions that we didn't get to in the chat related to the application process. And we are also open if you are in the area and want to stop by and chat with an admissions officer. We'd love to welcome you to our new campus. So with that, thank you all for being here. We really appreciate your time. Thank you to our current students for sharing such thoughtful insights to your student experience, and we hope to be in touch with you all very soon. Good luck with the application process and take care. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thanks, everyone.